Moore Keat was 96 years old when he became the oldest person in the world to bungee jump. At 101 years of age, Armand Gendreau jumped out of a plane at 10,000 feet. Luckily, with a parachute to become the oldest skydiver in the world. While at 100, Frank Shearer is the oldest person in the world to water ski. I find that last one especially hard to swallow because I remember I tried water skiing when I was around 20 and I recall clearly that I spent more time under the water than I did on top of it. What all these people have in common is they all have the word oldest appear someplace in the title for the honour for which they have earned. However, I put it to you that anybody who can water ski or bungee jump or skydive is not actually old at all. They might not be typically young, but they're certainly not old. George Bernard Shaw is attributed with the quotation, "Youth is wasted on the young." With all due respect, Mr. Shaw, I completely disagree, and I don't believe that youth is wasted on the young. Especially because the very concept of youth is an abstract concept. It's something that's not easily defined, and it's very subjective. I know this because I have asked several people, what age do you think it means to be young? And the answers I get vary wildly, and they're normally related to the age of the person that you ask. If you ask somebody who is 50 what age it means to be young, they might say somebody who's 30 is young. Whereas if you ask somebody in their 80s what it means to be young or what age you have to be in order to be considered young, they might say somebody who's in their 60s is a young person. So you can see it's quite subjective and broadly based on the age of the person that you ask. My own father was born in 1929. To put that in perspective, he was 10 when the very first shots of World War II were fired. At age 40, he witnessed the legendary grainy images of Neil Armstrong taking man's first steps on the moon. Today, he's 87 years of age, and he's independent, alert, and extremely quick-witted. I think a lot of that is down to the fact that after the 1954 report came out first linking smoking with cancer, he decided to give up his 40-a-day habit. I think it's because of that, that's why he's still with us today. Anyway, he also surfs on a daily basis. No, he doesn't surf the waves, not that that would be particularly impressive, because John H. Ball, or Doc as he's known to as his friends, still surfs without a wetsuit at the age of 94. No, my father surfs the internet. For at the age of 85, for his birthday, we decided to buy him an iPad. Up to that point, he had no experience of computers, technology, or the internet, and now, on a daily basis, he checks out local and international news. He keeps up to date with what friends and family are up to on Facebook, checks out his latest favourite music on YouTube, and watches an odd film on Netflix. You are never too old to try something new. You are never too old to take up a new hobby. You are never too old to set yourself a new goal. I think Bob Monkhouse put it best when he said, "Growing old is compulsory. Growing up is optional." George Bernard Shaw penned that famous quotation in a completely different era. Amazingly, he bucked a trend by living to a ripe old age of 94, when at the time the average life expectancy was around 40. In the current day, the average life expectancy is around 72. But with the medical advances being so fast these days, I have no doubt that that will creep closer and closer and eventually get to 100. So you are never too old. I think if George Bernard Shaw was around today, and I think if he heard about the amazing stories about all these people and what they have achieved and what they have done, I think he would take back the phrase, the quotation that is associated with him. But in his absence, I am going to take the liberty to redraft the phrase for him. So I'll finish with my redrafted version of his famous quotation. Youth is a gift to the young, but it can be shared by anybody who is young at heart.